Hey everybody, how's it going? At least this time we're only like 1 minute late. We're getting a
Yeah.
little bit better. Welcome to our Heels of Time podcast, episode 3. I am your host, Theo, and this is my other host.
Derek,
There you go, man. So today we got an interesting episode.
most
Hopefully,
definitely.
hopefully not confusing to you too much. So we're going to be taking a little jump in the Mediterranean, going a little south. We're going to be looking at the potentials of Rand al Thor, taking some of his characteristics from an Egyptian god, Ra.
Yeah.
So I think this will be a cool episode for people. It's going to get
I'm
us out of
excited.
the Greek and Roman area, region, if you want to say. And we're going to go Egyptian on you.
Yeah.
So, Ra, for those of you that don't know, he is pretty much the main mega god for Egypt. He's pretty old. We're talking 2000 plus BCE. So at
Nice.
this point, we're
That's
talking like
interesting.
over 4,000 years ago.
Dang.
So one of the oldest depicted gods in the Egyptian realm. He is a sun god. If you're noticing a pattern here, so he was depicted a lot of the times as a man body with a falcon head, and
Right.
sometimes like above his head had like a big disc, usually red. In the later depictions, later we're talking, still really old. It would have a serpent kind of going around it, and that's actually pretty
Cool.
pretty significant
Mm-hmm.
because obviously, as we said before, the sun comes up and then goes down, but ancients were they was it a flat, was it getting chased? That's a very interesting possibility here.
So like what so were the snakes like drawing it like a Santa Claus reindeer situation or
No, more like so you have the sun kind of traveling, and
gotcha.
then as a cycle, why is it going away? It's because it's getting chased.
Oh,
So
okay.
someone's like, you have one guy here, and he's like, do 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 do. Oh yay, sun. Oh wait, I'm getting chased by the snake guy. Oh,
All right. All
and
right.
it's just a
Gotcha.
continuous cycle of things.
Gotcha. Almost like a
Cycle.
wheel.
Yeah, something that goes around.
All right.
Yeah, okay.
Very nice.
Yeah, it is. It's pretty interesting, right? So, another interesting part is what's called as Ba, which is the personality is how it kind of translates to.
Oh, okay.
It's Benu. And you're like, oh, what's that? It's a big heron.
Nice.
Yeah.
And this is Egyptian, so I take it like he was literally also this bird and not just
He's not really like a bird. That's kind of like his personality, like his internal.
okay.
So he wasn't actually a bird that flies around, but
Oh, okay. All right, gotcha.
so and you know how I said it's like he's traveling around. Yeah. So what's funny is his city, as the Greeks called it, was Heliopolis, which means
Nice.
sun city or city of the sun.
Oh, cool.
If you know Greek myth, I know I'm going back and forth, but Helios is the had the row of the chariot and everything. Ironically, Ra had a solar barge.
Oh,
What's the
cool.
difference between a barge and a chariot? Not, I mean, it's a mode of transportation.
Sure. Yeah, no, I'm
So
with
that's
you.
that's the thing that carries him across the sky and then through the underworld as part of his cycle of time, so to speak.
Oh, that's so cool.
So his arch nemesis, I said it was like that serpent. Well, he had a name, uh, Apophis. May have heard of that. It's kind of popular, but
Yeah. Bad dude.
name is. So Egyptian gods get kind of funky. They kind of as they go through time, they kind of absorb other deities, and other deities kind of like become them.
Okay.
So one of the people that Ra took over was Horus took over for him. So sometimes you hear like Ra Horus or Horus Ra. It's like the same person, just kind of later on in time.
Okay, like a different form,
Correct.
like a rebirth kind of
Almost like a
situation. Or
rebirth. Yep.
okay, okay. No,
So
that's really cool.
yeah, ironically, he's like the that becomes like the morning sun, well, in that form, I guess you want to say.
Oh, nice,
Um,
nice.
Ra is actually the Egyptian word legitimately meaning sun. So if you can't
Okay.
tell, he's like crazy important. If you look at Egypt now, obviously it's got a lot of sunny days, but you got to also remember back in 4,000 plus years ago, it wasn't desert land. It was actually pretty fertile all over the
Oh, for
Nile,
sure.
of course.
Oh, for
So it
sure.
wasn't it wasn't the same topography as it is now. So obviously, crazy important to have the sun,
Yeah,
and
no, for
because it's
sure.
cyclic, it obviously goes back and forth. So I think that's pretty interesting. I could go on for hours on him. However, in terms of the Wheel of Time, I think we kind of hit what I wanted to hit on, and I might interject as before Derek takes over a little bit, and I'll interject at some points, I'm sure.
Okay,
Sure.
well, do you want to hand it off to me?
Go for it. Let's.
Or
What do you think? Do you think he kind of has some Rand like, or does
mo-
Rand have some Ra like features other than?
most definitely.
Question. What do you
Yeah,
think? Ra spelled what? In our terms, it's also could be spelled R-E,
sure.
but we're going to take it as because it also is R-A.
Then
Technically, the first two letters of Rand.
oh, most definitely. So
So, what do you think?
I'm not even taking that as an accident. Like with
I
all the
think so.
names that he could have been and all like the heroic names and like the savior names that he could have picked. Going with Rand when you have Ra as a solar deity, I think there's something there. Um, Check this out. So Rand is depicted having reddish hair, and you mentioned that Ra had kind of like a solar disc on his head. Now, was that reddish in color?
Yep.
All right. So Rand kind of walks around with his solar disc, so to speak.
Bingo. I agree.
Yeah,
Yep.
absolutely. And so now, depending on who you ask, you're like, well, the sun's not red. Well, hold on. Have you ever seen the sun in the morning? Have you ever seen the sun at night? Have you ever seen the sun around the summer or the winter solstice when it's hanging really low in the sky? Well, at least in the northern hemisphere, right? It definitely looks reddish. Okay.
Exactly.
So here's something that's interesting. You mentioned those that golden serpent that goes around the disc, right?
Mhm.
Well, Rand doesn't have like a golden halo around his head, okay? But he goes through this journey through this ancient city, Ruidian, I believe it's called. I might have butchered that. Wheel of Time, folks. Correct me in the comments, all right? So when he goes through his journey, his kind of like coming of age, becoming the hero kind of thing, he walks out with two golden serpents winding around his arms. Okay. So, I mean, and when he walks out with these two golden serpents, he does so in the morning and he comes from the east, like what? The rising sun, right?
Exactly.
So, hey, are they cobra snakes with a hood? No, they're great serpents, though. You might call them dragons, but dragon and serpent is quite often synonymous in the ancient times.
It's true too.
So, in the first book, Eye of the World, there's a point. It's actually at the end of, towards the end of the story. We get that Rand finds a banner with a dragon on it, and this is before he gets them like officially on his arms. But also he gets his ancient symbol, which is a disc. Okay, now it's not a reddish disc, but
color's a little different.
But check this out. I'm going to come back to that in a moment. All right. Before I forget, I want to recall what you said about the personality, what was that called?
The Ba.
The Ba. Yeah. Okay, the Ba. And his Ba was I remember this. It was Bennu.
Yeah,
Okay.
Bennu. Yep, Bennu.
And Bennu's like some giant heron bird, right? So in Randland, Rand has kind of this sword that he has, and it's marked on the sword with a heron. Where is it marked? Right on the handle. Some wacky stuff goes down, a battle, some other stuff goes down involving alternate dimensions. Really interesting stuff, guys and gals. And he gets 2 herons, one on each palm. And this kind of is part of his prophecy, actually, that he'll be marked twice and twice again. So twice with dragons and twice with herons. What do you think?
Sounds pretty common here.
Yeah, like that happens all the time, right?
Well, to Rand, yes.
Well, yeah, but I like that'd be a really strange coincidence to just be like.
So out of all the birds, out of all the things that you could have sparrows, you could have robins, you could have cranes.
Absolutely.
You pick a heron.
That seems
really random. I mean, it sounds like a really random bird just to like pop out of there. I'm thinking.
I think so too. I mean, geez, that's almost like too much on the nose, you know? But I just, dang, like a heron and a heron. Okay. All right. I see what you did, Mr. Jordan. So check this out.
And by the way, I would also say he could have picked a falcon, but I think that would have been so point 1 to point 2 that so like direct that I don't think it had much of a, I don't know. I think that would be too obvious.
Too close.
Yeah.
I got you. No, I think this is like just the right amount of subtlety, because check this out. Ra always has the falcon head, right? I mean, not all, like he came out with it or started with it, I assume, right? With his human body. But his personality, you said it's internal, so that's kind of probably not as well known.
Right.
And that's part of Rand's prophecy. Fulfilling the prophecy is getting the marks on his hands. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And again, and good point. It's on his hands, so it's not like a neon flashy sign. It's like something you'd have to get up close and personal to see or to know about. So I find that very compelling, very interesting. Now, I mentioned that I wanted to circle back to the ancient symbol that he finds at the end of the first book. Well, if you notice our logo, we have almost a yin yang, right? But there's something missing in it to really make it a yin yang. It's missing those the opposite colored dots, right? And apparently, the word is eluding me right now, but that's to represent balance. Well, Rand's symbol, his ancient symbol, is the yin yang symbol without the dots, because we're kind of, according to Robert Jordan, this isn't my interpretation, he wanted to represent the idea that things may not be balanced right now. And, just real quick Star Wars reference, Anakin was meant to bring balance to the Force, or so they thought, right? So maybe Rand is meant to bring balance to the existential world, so to speak, like balance the good with the bad. And we definitely talked about, I believe with Apollo, with Dionysus, how Rand is a little bit chaos in that crazy things happen when he shows up. Mm-hmm. But the good chaos balances out with the bad chaos.
Exactly.
So interesting.
Plus, good and bad is always in the eye of the beholder, so to speak.
Oh, most definitely.
Depends on your interpretation of what's good, what's bad, what's balanced.
Oh, most definitely. So picture that ancient symbol of the Aes Sedai in your head for a minute. That disc, that perfectly smooth circle stone disc. Rand rediscovers an ancient talent, as they call it, in relating to his magical channeling power of the one power. And they call it skimming. And what he's able to do is open a hole into kind of this alternate dimension, dark kind of
universe.
Parallel universe underworld, maybe, if you will. And he sails on this barge. Say what now?
Technically, it's dark, right?
Yeah, it's dark everywhere. It's like blackness everywhere. There's someone kicks a stone off of it at one point, and they never hear it drop or anything.
Yeah, it's just...
So Rand is even able to carry people with him on this barge, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so he can use this to kind of sail through the underworld, if you will, and show up, well, basically wherever he wants. So is he sailing across the sky? No, but you could definitely draw parallels here with the underworld and the fact that it's his mode of transportation and it's his symbol. So yeah, so it's kind of like his solar barge in a way.
It is kind of a boaty shape.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, but it also is round like the solar disk.
Right.
So it's kind of interesting. So now you mentioned that Ra's like mega enemy, his arch rival, or however you want to put it, is kind of like an evil snake, right?
Yes.
So or a chaos snake or whatever.
Yeah, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, I mean, kind of the yin to his yang.
There you go. Well, Rand's arch nemesis is Shaitan. And we're going to talk about another main enemy, kind of his Vader to the Emperor, so to speak. But first, let me touch on the Emperor. Shaitan is pretty much chaos, pretty much darkness, pretty much bad dude all around. And he's kind of chasing Rand throughout this story. And what we find out as part of the prophecy, and this is like real mind-blowing Rick and Morty kind of stuff, is that there's alternate dimensions in Randland, kind of like Marvel in their multiverse of madness or whatever. And what you find out is if Shaitan wins just in one of those realities, then he wins in all of them. So it's kind of like an all or nothing game of poker. You're all in.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like the daily struggle that Ra has with this with Apophis, right? So
they never get away from each other, and it's just cyclical the whole.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, to circle back, you mentioned that Horus is kind of an aspect of Ra.
Yeah,
like everyone's kind of
like became him. Yep.
Most definitely. And you mentioned that Ra was ancient, right? Like old.
1,000 years plus ancient. Correct.
Okay, good. Well,
from our time frame. Yes.
Recalling back from our previous discussions, Luz Theron, the original dragon, he existed like 1,000 years or so before Rand. He gets nuked. Rand comes back as a younger version, almost kind of like a Horus, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe we can look more closely at Horus in another episode, y'all. Let's find out. But that just seems to just sound alarm bells off. Like, okay, all right, look at this, check this out. There's some parallels here for sure. So right. I wanted to ask you this question off the top of your head.
Oh,
I know. Did Ra have any kind of like secret name or anything like that?
Technically speaking, yes. There was another god, Isis.
Okay.
And she's names were power.
Sure.
In terms, I mean, even in today's like storylines, if he's like, you can't know the name because as soon as you know the name, you have power over the person.
Nice.
So, yeah, Isis was the only one that knew his other name.
Okay. All right. I'm going to roll with that.
Okay.
In the beginning of the first book, everyone's looking for the dragon, but they don't know who it is. Nobody really knows. Not even Shaitan. Nobody. Not even Balzaman. Nobody. But this lady, who you'll get to know very well, and we will eventually hit her up, probably sooner than later, Maureen Sedai. She comes and rolls into the Two Rivers, and she collects these three young boys to start the journey. She also collects a couple of young women to start the journey. Now, she knows way more stuff than anybody else. She was there for this special prophecy that you hear about in the book New Spring. And what she knows that no one else knows is that Rand is the dragon. So could Maureen be Isis or some aspect of her?
Some similarities there in the story.
Yeah. So I think that's going to do it for our Ra and Rand parallels. So thank you for watching this part of the Heels of Time. And remember, we are the Heels of Time.
Yes.